Hey, good people. It's another edition of the All Go podcast on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. I also do a podcast that I will put the link in the description. But today, I want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. We have seen all of one game of the Big Three together, and offensively, they looked phenomenal, as I think we all assumed they would. I believe they all combined for 96 points together. Quite a few rebounds. I think 20 assists. Offensively, the guys looked really, really good. But defensively, they did not look good. And I think with the Brooklyn Nets and with these guys together, a lot of that's really what everyone is kind of talking about is, before they got on the court was, how are they going to play defensively? Where are they going to, focus themselves? And it just did not look great. I think the Harden and Durant combination, as we saw in the 3 or 4 games that they played together while Kyrie was gone, they looked phenomenal. They looked explosive. The guys were playing well. And then adding Kyrie in, and granted, it's only been one game, so I don't want to overreact to it, but I think there are some signs there that are concerning moving forward, and it just boils down to defense. These guys collectively have to do a better job of playing defense, getting stops. Their main defender in the paint is going to be DeAndre Jordan, who's getting older. He's not the DeAndre Jordan that he was with the Clippers in Lob City. He's getting older and he doesn't move as well as he used to. And that is potentially going to be an issue with the Brooklyn Nets down the road, is that with the trade to get James Harden, you lost a lot of guys on your bench, and you also lost a paint defender as well. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how it goes. I am one that I'm on record that I don't think it's going to work, just due to number one is going to be the defense. The Harden, I know he was like top 3 in deflections or getting loose balls. I mean, that doesn't mean you play good defense. Like that means you're in the right place at the right time, and it just, to me, he's not a good on-ball defender. Kyrie's not a good on-ball defender. Kevin Durant is a really good defender. Especially when he got to Golden State, he really took his defense up a notch to the next level, and so far he's been playing pretty well defensively and especially offensively. But the Nets, their big three, when 2 out of the 3 guys are subpar defenders, you're gonna have some issues. You've got you're in the East, where granted Ben Simmons doesn't shoot a bunch, but you got Ben Simmons, you've got Russ Westbrook, you got Bradley Beal. You've got guys who can play. Chris Middleton, which granted I know he's an all-star, not a superstar, but you have guys who can put up a lot of points. And if they were to get to the NBA Finals, 9 times out of 10, you're going to play a team that has a really good guard, at least one. If it's most likely, my pick is the Lakers. So who's going to guard LeBron? And then also, too, who's going to guard Anthony Davis? And that's the Lakers if they make it. If Denver makes it, who's going to guard the Joker? You got Jamal Murray. There's just so many issues and matchup problems that I foresee the Nets having. And even in a game, 2 nights ago, but that they played, Colin Sexton is not a bad matchup for Kyrie and Harden, but those guys couldn't do anything with him. Sexton was even scoring on Durant. It really didn't matter who was guarding him. It was in his zone. So, fun fact, I'm an Alabama fan. I may have mentioned that, may not have. But Colin Sexton actually played his college ball at Alabama. Played 1 year, but crazy story. They were playing, I believe it was Minnesota. It was an out-of-conference game, and I believe there was either a little scuffle or guys got in foul trouble. I want to say it was actually some little, whatever. Guys got, upset, tangled up, and a lot of guys on Alabama's team got kicked out of the game. And Alabama only had 3 guys that were on the court. So they had to play 3 versus 5. against Minnesota and Alabama. I want to say they almost won the game, but Colin Sexton just went berserk in that game. It's pretty crazy, but it's something you should definitely take a look at if you get a chance. But the thing with Colin Sexton is he is as competitive as they come. He reminds me almost as a Russell Westbrook as far as that just competitive spirit, bulldog type of mentality. Colin Sexton's nickname is the Young Bull, and I think he had that since high school, but I know for sure he had it at Alabama. So really intense guy, but great kid, and it looks like he's finally kind of getting to that maturation step and really getting his skill level to where it needs to be as a starting point guard in the NBA. Because he early on, his rookie year and even last year, he kind of struggled a bit offensively, and it takes some time. I mean, he only played one season in Alabama, so you're looking at a kid. You graduate at 18, you play 1 year there, so you're 19 years old coming into the NBA, playing against number one, the premier position as a point guard, and then also you're playing grown men, guys who are 28, 29, 30 years old and super athletic. So it's understandable, but anyway, it is concerning when you see the defense look that way. I mean, if you give up 42 to Colin Sexton, what are you giving up to Steph Curry? What are you giving up to Dame Lillard? What are you giving up to Jamal Murray? What are you giving up to Bradley Beal? Like it's something that you're concerned about. Like I said, the sky's not falling, but if the Nets don't get the defensive end together, I think they're going to have issues. I don't think they're going to make the NBA Finals. And to me, this team is absolutely at least finals or bust. You don't put this group together like this to just say, well, if we get to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's okay. Or no, you put this group together to win the NBA championship this year. That's why they're all together. I've heard it being put out there about, well, this isn't a rumor, but it's just a situation that people have talked about, a hypothetical of potentially trading Kyrie and trying to get more pieces on the bench for the Nets, because they had a really good bench before they traded it to get James Harden. And I understand you do trade those guys away to get superstars, because the formula for an NBA championship is at least 2 superstars, and if you can get 3, even better. But I just don't feel like these 3 guys fit that well, and I feel like with the personality of these 3 guys, the one who I feel is most likely to take a step back just because they're confident in themselves is Kevin Durant, which that's bad when you have when you're trying to divvy up shot selection, that the best guy on the court is getting the fewest shots. So in the first game they were all together, I think Kevin Durant had 25 shots. I think Kyrie was like 28, and then James Harden had about 14. So it's just going to be difficult, for Steve Nash. I'm not sure how you're going to track that, how you're going to, get to that point. But, my concern is that you're going to have guys that, with Harden and with Kyrie, that there's going to be plenty of possessions that you have that those guys don't pass the ball at all. Where if I'm James Harden, I get the ball inbounded to me, come down the court, dribble, shoot a 3, and the same with Kyrie. So it's going to be something that Nash has to work on with those guys. They've got to get some type of motion and ball movement going on, because just the ISO ball, I just don't feel like you can win a championship with that. I think even when you look at Golden State, when Kevin Durant was there, they had times where they would go ISO, but they were a lot of motion, a lot of moving. You had Klay Thompson who moved without the ball. You had Draymond who moved without the ball. Obviously Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. So to me, what the motion does in guys moving without the ball is you can get easy baskets. You can get layups. You can get dunks with backdoor cuts and things like that. When it's ISO ball, everybody's got to be on every single night, and that's very difficult, especially when you talk about in the playoffs, to ask a guy to shoot 50, 40, 90 for a playoff run. I mean, that's almost it's a tall task. So we'll see what happens with the Nets. Like I said, my preseason prediction was Milwaukee and the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I had Milwaukee advancing to the finals. The way Giannis has been playing lately, I have a lot of concerns with that pick. He's not shooting the ball that well, and I was banking my prediction off of Giannis really taking that next step with his mid-range and with his three-point shooting. Remains to be seen. I'll stick with my pick, but we'll see what happens. Once again, thanks so much for joining me. As I mentioned, I will have a link to the podcast in the description. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Would love to hear from you. And once again, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.